I think we're live.
We're live. Hello, everybody. Hello, Heather. How are you?
I'm here.
That'll do. Oh, we've got somebody in already. We've got Bekie Bluebird in already. Hello, Bekie Bluebird. I don't remember seeing your name before, but hello and welcome. We've got a few things to talk about today, one of which, of course, is the moon. It's the new moon today, Heather.
Yes, I can feel it. Yes.
Yes, I know. It's a bit heavy. You know, these last few moons I've noticed have been particularly heavy. The full moons and the dark moons I've noticed have been quite challenging.
Very strong and powerful.
Yeah.
Big shifts in things, and I'm kind of hoping that after this dark moon, that maybe things will just ease up a little.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Of course, you know, my big news is that I've left my job, which is good. So I've got a weight lifted off my shoulders from that, which I'm very relieved about.
Yeah.
And it does genuinely feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. Although I did have a message yesterday saying, we haven't managed to fill your place and somebody else has left. So could you fill in for her? Like, no.
I'm not here. You didn't see me, right?
Talk about pushing your luck. God.
So,
yeah. I know, I've left. So not only did they want me to fill in for somebody else that left a while ago, but they wanted me to carry on and be on their reserve books. And I said, no, I don't
right. I like the name Chris.
Hello, Funnily enough, today there was a neighbour that was busy running past my house, and he does so quite regularly. And I said, "Oh, you put me to shame." And he said, "Oh, you can come and run with me if you like." I said, "No, got far too many jiggly bits." And he said, "Oh, point taken." And I thought, I'm not sure if I like that or not.
Okay.
But it was definitely one of those moments. Yeah, exactly. We've got Jane Mortimer in as well. Hello.
And that's the lady that I kept calling Janet, I think. I think she's now. Mr. Rowan has been able to change her screen name, so we now, I think you're Jane, and I will never confuse you again.
Jane, and Jane again. Yes.
Yes. My middle name's Jane. I think I remember. But there you go.
Wouldn't you, Heather? Really?
Shows a distinct lack of imagination, I feel. My parents' behalf. I could have been Gertrude or something interesting, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, it could have been worse, couldn't it? Wibble Chick is Chris Orton. Well, hello, my sweet. Chris, I did see you briefly in the moot last week, and then you popped off. So I did see you. Was mid conversation, didn't get a chance to say hello, and then off you popped. So sorry about that. I had a moot last Tuesday, Heather, and Chris popped in. And then didn't think anyone could see her, so she popped off out again. And actually I did, but because I was literally mid-sentence and she was only there for a few seconds, didn't really get an opportunity to say hello before she popped out. So apologies, Chris.
It's difficult when you have quite a number of people on, and I think the bigger these sort of meetings get, the much harder it is to have anything approaching like a real conversation.
Yeah, and of course then you get halfway through a sentence and then somebody else pops in, and some people want to say hello, and then that obviously stops the flow. But they were obviously actually listening to what I had to say for once, which was really nice. I've got interesting things to say occasionally. And as I say, I was mid-flow, didn't get a chance to stop flow, and then she popped off. So there we go. Apologies anyhow. Hope you're well. I'm very well. I have a glass of mulled wine and the knowledge that I've left my job, and I can't stress enough how much better I feel for having done that. I thought I was going to be really quite sad on Sunday, because obviously it was my last visit on Sunday, and I thought I might be quite affected by that. But because I'm planning on going to see this lady, obviously unpaid, but planning on seeing this lady now that I've left anyway, because she lives not too far away from my daughter. It kind of wasn't a goodbye, it was just to see you soon. So it was okay. So I did think I might feel a bit upset about it, but no, I wasn't. So that was all right. And then driving home was just lovely. And then I've been a potato since, actually. So since Sunday night, I have just watched YouTube and done nothing. It's been lovely.
It's a holiday now. You need a holiday after all that time of working, especially over Christmas and the New Year, and when other people are having a break.
Yeah.
And you're not putting yourself at any sort of risk anymore. That it's nice. Dobby is free.
It is, actually, yes, I must admit. So yes. So have you got any plans for this moon, Mrs.?
Gosh, I've found that, unlike my usual self, my sleep has been a lot more sporadic. So it's meant I've had more time to do my work, but it's also meant that I felt more tired.
Yeah.
So my thoughts for the moon are mainly about trying to let go of stuff, trying not to get too caught up in other people's dramas, because there's a bit of that going on right now. To know what's worth getting involved with and what isn't, that sort of separation, which is very difficult to do when you're emotionally caught up in things. But I don't want I want to be in a position where I feel I've done the very best I can, and I haven't caused any unnecessary grief, and yet I've still done what I needed to do. And it's a difficult line to tread, and I'm not very good at it, actually, right now.
Are you finding yourself able to step outside yourself almost and see the situation for what it is, rather than being caught up in it, or is that too tricky?
I think logically I can, but there's so much going on, and because I'm starting to add 2 and 2 together, and I think I'm actually making 4, and it's not actually that good. So I think maybe scales have fallen from my eyes a little bit. I generally like to think the very best of people at all times, unless proven otherwise. And I'm kind of thinking, it's not quite that straightforward, though, is it? So, but I'm trying not to get too involved. That's the key, because it won't serve me any good or necessarily achieve anything. So I'm trying not to expend energy where it's not needed.
I think also it is a very difficult thing under normal circumstances to be able to step outside the box and see a situation for what it is. But obviously, when you've got so much extra stuff going on, it's not such an easy skill to master, is it? But having said that, the time of the moon does actually seem, that I think personally, and I know how in tune you are with the moon, it does obviously at this time make it that little bit easier maybe for you to do that. And obviously I know you're very good at doing that kind of work with other people, and it's sometimes it's difficult to do it for yourself, isn't it? But I know that you've got the skill to do that.
I know I have the skill to do it, but I think if you're tired and emotional, which are the two, then it's a lot harder to kind of hold that line and not just sort of unravel bits of your mind that really don't need to go there, because it doesn't clarify, it doesn't serve, it doesn't honour the person who's gone, it doesn't help in the long run. You've got to be reasonably pragmatic about it. And although certain things may hurt, that's more about me than it is about the situation. So there's some things I can't do anything about. That I'm just a bit more aware than I used to be, that's all.
I've got quite a nice thing to do, actually, for the moon, but I'm going to do it tomorrow, because obviously being the new moon today, I want to do it tomorrow on the first day of the waxing moon. And that's the friend that I've been talking about, has had her baby. She had him on Saturday. It's called Merlin. How great's that?
Wow, that's a hell of a name to give a kid, though, isn't it?
What a name to live up to. So he's called Merlin. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Ben. And congratulations to both of you. So he turned up very late on Saturday. Well, I mean,
fashionably late.
Fashionably late, yeah. When my daughter turned up 10 days late, my eldest one, she was 10 days late, and I thought that was tough. But this little one, I think he's 17 days late or something like that. Oh, poor.
Wow.
Poor thing. Anyway, he's finally turned up, and I've offered some healing, because obviously, having had a baby, or having had 3 myself, you know that you're not feeling quite yourself after you've had one of those, are you?
Take a lot out of you.
Yes. And so I offered her some healing, but I said I'll do it tomorrow because obviously it's on the very first day of the waxing moon. So that'll be my job to do with the moon for the week, and send some some proper healing for her. She's got she had a C-section, and so there's a little bit more to it than maybe other times. So yes, but I'm just so thrilled that they finally have the baby and everybody's well and so on. So that's really good news. It's lovely news for the new year.
It is. There were good things happening, although they don't necessarily make the headlines. There are good things happening in the world.
Yeah, definitely. James says we need all the Merlins we can get. Well, I'd agree with that. He doesn't have a sausage, though. He's definitely a sausage.
Oh.
I've seen a photo of him and he's just a little sausage.
Oh, sweet.
Unfortunately, of course, with the the times we live in means that I can't go around and give the porky sausage a little squeeze, which is a bit of a shame.
It's not allowed, sadly.
No. But I've got something for them because I've made some bits and pieces for them. So I've said that I'll go round and sort of give it a distance, and then they can parade him through the window or some such thing. So.
Get the binoculars out.
Exactly. So I will hopefully get to see him, albeit through glass. So hopefully that will be at the latter part of this week. So I'll go and get to see a small porky sausage.
Lovely. Oh, that's sweet. Oh, it's nice to hear some good news.
It is nice to hear some good news, isn't it? Yeah. Let's take all the good news you can get when it's like it is. And, it's kind of like January. Everyone has the blues in January. Everything's always a bit down, isn't it? So when you get something that's bright like that, you have to really, really go with it, don't you? And let it lift you. And that's what I'm letting it do. Yeah.
I've got a very large cat sat here. Well, he's taken to laying on the desk and during the day staring out the window and supervising the neighbours. Very nosy. Just laying there, and the other one lays on a stool by the radiator. So they've got their positions for the winter.
My little grey one, she had, they have like the mad 5 minutes, don't they? She had a mad day, sort of 24 hours from yesterday afternoon until lunchtime today. I don't know what got into her at all. She was chewing, I think she thought she was a dog. She was chewing my slippers and then rolling around on the rug and then kicking the crap out of the corners and then rushing out the door. It's like, what's the matter with her? And then a couple of the other ones sort of vaguely joined in and then also started attacking my slippers, which is not something they normally do. It's like, have I walked in something?
Something interesting.
I know it was as, and I haven't been out in my slippers or anything, so it was as though somebody had snuck in when I wasn't looking and then put a squirt or 50 of catnip spray down because they literally went bonkers.
Very strange creatures.
It's like, okay, and she's just she's all over the place. I don't know what's the matter with her really. I don't even know where she is. Probably on my bed. She wore herself out, I think. Oh dear. Oh, I've been watching, as I said before, because I've had some time off, which has been lovely. I've been watching some videos on YouTube by a channel that I've come to like very much, which is called Obsolete Oddity. Have you heard of them?
Not that one. There are many of them, but that sounds interesting.
It is. It's a really good one, and there's all sorts of there's sort of strange cases, paranormal cases, murder cases. There's all sorts of things on there. But he also operates on Patreon. So I had a look into Patreon, and that looks quite interesting. And some of the I hadn't heard of it before because obviously this is all kind of new to me, as you know. But I was looking into it, and as I said to you last week, I've got lots of ideas for new things that I want to put on this channel, on the YouTube channel. But there's other things on there that would be more suitable for that. And I thought, well, actually, that would be quite an interesting little exercise. So that's something that's in the offing as well. So I've been using my time off. As I said, I've been a bit of a potato, as in I haven't really left the couch. I've almost left the couch a couple of times, only to eat something. But yeah, it's been quite a useful time of having some time off to do the stuff and look at the stuff and research the stuff that I just haven't had time to do before. So that's been quite interesting. So that's another watch this space type of thing. Oh, we've got Dawn Cherry Paul in. Hello. We're in Brisbane, I think.
And jewelry sales.
And jewelry sales. Hello. Yeah, I think Dawn Cherry Paul, she's over in Brisbane, I think, where my daughter is.
That's right.
Because she's in Springfield, my daughter. Springfields.
So it must be early morning there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they do it first. So yeah. So I thought that'd be quite interesting. And what I'm planning on doing, amongst various other things, is sort of historical features on historical witchcraft trials and things like that. Things that might be more interesting for for that kind of series, rather than the bits that might be on over here. So I've got all sorts of things lined up. It's just a question of getting on with it, really.
Doing one thing at a time.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that.
That's the key, is just try and get one of those things done, or one episode or whatever, and then you can, because otherwise we end up, like you and I, we end up going down the researching rabbit hole, never to be seen again.
Exactly. I'll get in my bookshelf and I'm off.
Exactly. It's kind of thinking, okay, I've got enough now. It's just off we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think actually that'd be an interesting exercise, and I think it'll also help me remember stuff, because, as I said before, I have such a problem with my memory for names, and I always have, but it's worse now. And I'm sort of hoping that actually doing that might help me remember some of these things as well, that I want to remember and want to be able to remember and really struggle with. When I was at school, I used to find actually writing things down helped. As you're supposed to, but you know what I mean. And I kind of have taken that, but I have phases of not doing it and then wondering why I can't remember things. So maybe by sort of rewriting stories and then talking about them pretty much straight away, I'm hoping it will kind of sit in my memory a little bit better. So that'd be good.
Yeah, that's it. Pick one topic, research the hell out of it, put it in your own words, and then just upload it. Before you have a chance to get distracted or sidetracked or forget all those things, you just have to get in the flow of it, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but as I say, it's so nice to have some time, because I haven't had any time off in the last year. So, it'd be rather nice.
Make a change, won't it?
Yeah, it will do. Yeah. So as I mentioned before, if anybody's got any questions about anything, witchcraft related or not necessarily, then think of us as your witchcraft agony aunts, if you like.
Exactly. We'll do what we can.
We do indeed. One of the things that I've managed to get done as well is that I had a whole selection of things that I've been drying from springtime last year, really. They were just a sort of a collection of seeds and leaves and flowers and stuff that I use in various lotions and potions. And I actually got round to putting them in labelled jars, taking them out of their drying bags finally, and putting them in labelled jars. So that was quite a good exercise. And there were a couple of sort of mismatched things at the bottom. I was like, now, what was that?
It looks nothing like what it was when he picked it. It's like brown stuff.
It's sort of brown and crumbly now. Where did I pick it, and did I take a picture of it? Probably not. So So I decided that if I couldn't identify what it was, that I probably didn't need it that much, which is why I've forgotten about it. And there'll be plenty more growing next year. I'll get some more and do the proper thing and label it.
Yes, that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's annoying though, and I could kick myself really, because there was obviously quite a few things that that I thought were worthy of picking and drying at the time. Can I remember what they are? No.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I it's sort of along witchy lines. I have been trying to sort out my library. It's not all witchcraft books. I have books on all sorts of things, but I have quite an extensive craft sort of orientated library, and I've got things in there. Oh, I forgot I had that.
Yeah.
Because I was searching for a particular very small book that I've lost, written by Zach and Jean, tiny little yellow, but I can see it in my head. They even signed it to me. I need it, but it hasn't turned up yet. But what it has meant is, it was part of the process of inviting it to come back to me wherever it's gone, to sort through the rest of my stuff and get a bit more organised and read the things that I keep meaning to. Because unlike many people, I actually have very little time. I'm busy, and it's like, but the rest of the world feels like it's stopped, and I'm the one that's sailing.
Exactly, and you're still running about like a headless chicken. Yeah,
pretty much. I'm not buying so much, but because you can't really. But I've certainly got plenty to work through, and people are still buying. So no change there.
Yeah, well, that's good though. That is good. Although it's been tax time for you, hasn't it? And I bet that was taxing. Boom, boom.
Dad jokes. Yeah, I actually quite enjoy doing now. I know that sounds really screwbally, but I quite like the whole thing of having to sit and do my figures in one go. It kind of, my mind's focused on it, and I crack through it, and I'm quite good with figures, and I quite enjoyed it. And what I normally do is do the last year's figures and do that tax year's figures, and then do the figures up to this point, so that it makes it then easier when I go back in to do the rest. And it was all very straightforward. I mean, I'm having to hand over about $3,000 before the end of this month. And another 1.5 probably in the summer. Certainly over 1,000 in the summer. But then I look at it as I must be doing quite well if I'm having to pay tax. So, and it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. I kind of know that if I earn more money each year, I'm going to have to pay more tax each year, and I'm kind of right with it this year.
Oh, I remember doing that years ago, and particularly when I was a driving instructor, and having to do that. And God, the taxes for that was so complicated. The things that you could claim for and that you couldn't claim for, and thousands of receipts, which I'm sure you have too. Oh God, it used to
an envelope for every month. But I do find that my attitude towards tax is not. The first year I sort of started doing reasonably well, I felt like I'd been robbed, because it's almost like all of my profit because they do it ahead. And it was kind of like, oh, I worked all that hard and they've taken it all. This time I just kind of think, well, I feel quite proud of myself that I'm doing better this year than, I did better that year than the year before, and I think this year I may do even better still. So I don't begrudge it as much. And if they're using the taxes to help people, then absolutely yes. It's a responsible thing to do, isn't it? I wouldn't want to. It's a more grown-up attitude, I feel. I'm getting there slowly but surely.
Oh God, I'm not so keen on this adulting thing, I must say. I mean, generally speaking, being an adult's a bit of a pain in the backside, isn't it? And it's like, I don't necessarily want to do that. But sometimes it does have its benefits.
Yeah, once we get to springtime, I shall stop adulting and start sort of enjoying myself again and regress completely. But right now, I think adulting is probably a good thing.
Adulting just a winter activity, is that what it is?
Yeah, just to get through, just to get by without murdering anybody or, getting arrested. You're doing quite well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, getting arrested is definitely on my list of things not to get done.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Oh dear. Jane says that journaling is her way of remembering important things. Yeah, I have to remember to journal though.
Yeah, me too. Doesn't happen.
It's one of those things that over the years, it's like, I'm going to do that. I'm definitely going to do that. And then I'll do it for a few days and then I forget.
Yeah.
Or I might do it even for a fortnight and I forget. And then several days goes by and I think, oh, I haven't done that. And I don't know whether it's the momentum's gone and that's why I kind of. But I don't know. I have this real inner turmoil about going back to something that I've either let lapse or forgotten about or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's almost like an embarrassment. I feel, and I'm not embarrassed to anybody because I'm not beholden to anybody, but I almost feel embarrassed for myself that I didn't do it. And then it's like, oh, well, what should I do? And it's a really weird thing. It's like, how can you be embarrassed to yourself? And there must be an alternative emotion that isn't embarrassment that feels the same when it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like revisiting something that's gone before. I think, I kind of come to the conclusion that, life is only so long. and it's what you do with it that counts. So if you've had a go at something and loved it, even if you could have been very good at it, but you moved on, there's a reason why you moved on to do something different, and it doesn't diminish the time you spent doing whatever it was you were doing, but you've got other things to be doing now. And I mean, I've done things like dream journals and stuff like that, but I mean, I'll do it for as long as I need to do it to solve whatever it is, and then I let it go again, because I don't need it. If I did it every day, I wouldn't have time for doing all the other things I have to do. Just me.
Because when I was younger, I used to religiously keep a diary, probably up until I was about 17, 16 maybe. And I would write in it pretty much most days. And sometimes, sort of looking back on them, I've got rid of them all now. But sort of a few years later, I'd look back on them, and some of the entries that I'd put in there, I'd be like, why did I write that? I walked into the bathroom and turned on the light. Whoa.
It was a dull day, clearly.
Yeah, it was a dull day. Whoa, that wasn't a light bulb moment, definitely.
Yeah. I never did keep a diary when I was younger.
No.
I didn't really think of it. And then when I probably could have done or should have done, there was too much else going in my life where it was just like, no, I was just hanging on by my fingernails. Writing things down was not an option. So
yeah. That was one of those things that I used to do when I went to bed, because I couldn't go to sleep when I went to bed anyway. So it was just something to do to while away time while I was waiting to go to sleep. I'd be like, put in the diary. And it might only been 2 or 3 minutes, and it just passed another 2 or 3 minutes. Of course, now 2 or 3 minutes spent, it's like, I'll just go on my phone. A bit different now, isn't it?
Very much so, yes.
But then, of course, it was, less things to do, less things to occupy you and stuff. Yeah, rather different. Yeah. Strange. Yeah. Now, we've not got any questions here for any witchcraft stuff. So let's pick a topic to talk about that might be of interest to somebody. Got any burning things you'd like to talk about, witchcraft-wise?
Was that me or the?
Oh, yeah. Or anybody, actually.
Right. You know how your mind just goes away and comes back? You're like, what? Who? What? Me? Where? Who? Oh, God. Honestly, I'm so scattered. Yes, I'm slightly not so witchy, but I'm waiting on some vegan nail machine to come to me. I ordered it, and the reason being is that nail varnishes use a lot of nasty chemicals, and it's not particularly good for the environment. Blah 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 blah. But they don't last 5 minutes when I paint them, so I've ordered this thing that uses very natural nail varnishes, and you put them under the light, and the idea is that they'll be much longer lasting, not quite like the sort of gel nails, but something along that line.
Is it a shellac thing?
No, the shellac involves. It doesn't involve harming any animals.
That's interesting then. I've not heard of that.
Yeah, it's called green. It's either green flash or flash green. And this is what I do with words sometimes. And it's a French thing. But yeah, I will do a YouTube thing on it, just because I'm completely hopeless with stuff like that, and show people how it works, if it works. Now, Dawn's got an interesting, Cherry Paul's got an interesting question there. How can I ask my crows to move away? You want your crows to move away?
Why do you want your crows to move away? That's a really, wow. Okay.
Are they noisy? Is that what it is? Are they annoying? How many have you got?
Wow. That's really interesting, because obviously there's so many people that will be like, well, pass them over here.
I love a crow.
Yeah.
There's a whole load of them that they're up in the trees when I go to my garage, and my garage isn't by my house. I have to drive to this lockup, and they're marvellous. I always say good morning to them, and very noisy, but they are noisy.
They are noisy. I've got lots and lots of crows here. And they're proper noisy, and they sort of stamp around and terrorise the squirrels. Mind you, sometimes the squirrels will terrorise them. So it's a bit of a two-way street, really. But yeah. But getting rid of them, getting them to move away, God.
Are they parked somewhere they shouldn't be? Are they nesting somewhere that's unsafe or right next to your window? Or I mean, asking them to move away is probably as polite a thing as you can get.
You can ask ants to go. If you get infested with ants, you ask them to go, and they do.
Yes.
That's absolutely hand-on-heart truth. My mum taught me that when I was about 8. And it was funny because we had, there was an alleyway between the back door. I lived in a semi-detached house, and there was a sort of alleyway stroke driveway between the two houses. And my back door was opposite to the back door of the house next door. And they were absolutely infested with ants. And then there was one particular day that they sort of started tentatively coming across the alleyway to come and see whether we had anything of interest. And my mum said, she said, I'm not having them in. So she stood on the doorstep with her arms folded and said, not in here, thank you, over there. And they sort of about turned and marched off. We never had ants in, ever.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that was the end of that. We never, ever had ants. Somebody said, no, you put boiling water over them. She said, I'm not putting boiling water over them. You just have to tell them in no uncertain terms, it's time for them to go. And they did. So there you go.
No, I'm not sure if that's going to work with these crows, because apparently they keep taking the chickens' eggs, and they also terrorise the wrens and wagtails. Well, yeah, they do tend to dominate a space, don't they?
Yeah, they do, don't they? Yeah.
Are these crows or rooks or ravens or what's the little ones?
The crows are the
jackdaws.
Yeah, oh yeah,
jackdaws. We've got those in our chimney, but it's at the back, and it's
they've got the greyish head, haven't they?
Yeah. But they're very much a big family.
The worst thing I found when I was in Australia were the what are those white things? Cockatiels? No, not cockatiels. Cockatoos. Oh God, the noise of them! They are deafening, and they screech and squawk, and they fly in great flocks, and they're so noisy. You can't talk about them. They're so loud. Yeah, really loud. But I can't think of anything that would actually get rid of crows. Let me have a think on that.
Yeah, that's an unusual one, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I'll have a think on that, and I'll put something down in the comments when I've given it some thought, because there will be something that you can do. But it's really caught me on the hop, and I can't think. Off the top of my head what might be helpful. Because obviously, the sort of the scarecrows and the crow scarer type things, those work for a short time, don't they? But they get wise to it. They're so clever. They get wise to the fact that it's a scarecrow. They're not in the least bit interested. Yeah. So let's have a think on that, Dawn Cherry Paul. We'll have a think about that, and then we'll put some comments and suggestions in the comments underneath afterwards, if that's all right with you. Yeah. So she's saying, somebody here is saying, ask them politely to leave as well.
And that's the mice. They're saying you can do that with mice. Although I find having cats is quite a good deterrent.
Yes. I must tell you my squirrel story, because it's reminded me of it. We used to back onto a bird sanctuary. When I was a little girl, we had a bird sanctuary at the bottom of the garden. So we sort of had a flat part of the garden. Then there was a very steep wooded part of the garden. And then beyond that was a bird sanctuary, which was all very nice. And there was only a chain link fence between that and the wooded part of the garden. But of course, it meant that there were all sorts of birds and squirrels and wildlife that were just around all the time. And that meant that obviously there were a lot of squirrels as well. And squirrels have got into the loft of people that were a few houses down. And the person that lived in that house was a rather unpleasant chap, and decided that he was going to deal with them all with a gun, which he did, which upset pretty much everybody in the street. Nobody was happy about that at all. And then we discovered that we had squirrels in our loft as well. So this horrible chap turned up with his gun cocked over his elbow and said, I'll deal with them for you. And both my parents sort of said, no, you won't, not in your way. And I've got a small child in the house, meaning me. And we'll do it our way. Well, my dad, amongst many other things, was a classical pianist. And the only music that he would entertain of any description was classical music. And he particularly liked Bach and Mozart. And so he thought long and hard about the best method for the squirrel problem. And then he had an aha moment. So one Saturday afternoon, he spent the afternoon with the loft hatch open and the ladder up, and various cables going up through the loft hatch and so on. And he was up and down and up and down. And I kept saying to my mum, "What's he doing?" And she said, "Don't ask," like you do. And the next thing we knew was that there was this enormous blast of classical music in the loft. And what he'd done with all the cables was that he put his speakers up into the loft and then put one of his records on maximum volume and literally blasted them out of the loft.
A sound wave, like
like boom, but all the squirrels left, and they were sort of, you could imagine them for days afterwards going, "What?" Again. But we never had squirrels back. They were all deaf, but we never had squirrels back again. Oh, it wasn't that hurt them, but obviously deafening them didn't count. Just imagine them also like.
What was that?
So, we've got a bird. Oh dear. Yes. Okay, we've got a couple of suggestions here. And Chris says, see if you've got a falconer nearby who can fly birds over your property. There we go. Let's put that up there. There we go. Yeah, fly birds over your property, but not to kill it, just as a deterrent. That's probably good. Now, I don't know what kind of birds of prey you might have over in Australia, because obviously it's a bit different over there to over here. I'm not quite sure what they'd have, but actually that's not a bad idea at all. Something that's, a bit further up the food chain, maybe.
Or maybe get someone to fly a drone over. Maybe a drone would have a similar.
I don't know, maybe. Might do.
Just something in the space,
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, with hawks makes no difference. Wow. Well, they're little buggers, aren't they?
Brave crows, then.
Yeah. In that case, that's hence the problem. Obviously, she's done the more logical things, and bit of witchcraft needed. Okay, leave that with us. We'll come up with a solution, or solutions, plural, and then maybe either use them or with a view to what we come up with. You might find something that sort of sits between 2 or 3 different suggestions, and then find your own way. So so leave that with us, and we'll have a good old
scratch
brainstorm session about that. Yeah, that's interesting though, isn't it? But obviously, I mean, they are destructive things, aren't they? But they're so clever. That's one of the difficulties with them, isn't it? That they are really clever.
But it must be the fact that you've got chickens there, because if they get the eggs, then it's like a larder, isn't it? Because chickens don't really put up much of a fight about anything.
No, not really.
So it's kind of like, it's easy dinner, isn't it, for a crow? But that's the thing. I mean, obviously, when we have chickens in England, we tend to keep them, where they have the laying box, so that the eggs aren't sitting out in the open air, if you know what I mean. So they're sort of a bit more protected, so they can't actually get in and get them. But
I mean, on a practical level, something like that might help, I suppose. Nesting or roosting boxes or whatever they're called. I don't know. Don't know much about chickens, to be honest, but you've had chickens in the house next door, haven't you?
Yes, well, she hasn't at the moment, but she does have chickens quite regularly. And our biggest problem, obviously here in the UK, is foxes.
Yeah.
And her dog seemed to be he's a terrier, you see. It's like you're getting a terrier, you've got chickens. You're mad.
It's a bit obvious, isn't it? Yeah.
Slightly obvious. It's what they do. Chase things that move. But yes, I mean, I've had, because at one time I was considering the possibility of having chooks myself, because I thought that's a lovely thing. But
Yeah,
it's quite upsetting to have your girls and then lose them either to some mysterious disease, to a marauding fox, or just, I mean, when they turn up their toes, they just do. And when they went on holiday, we used to look after the chooks. And one hadn't been well. I think it was Lilibet or something. It was like, well, Lilibet's not been very well. You know, she might just give up the ghost while we're away, but don't worry. And of course, I go down there one morning and there's Lilibet, kind of claws up in the air. Oh, crap.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, not good.
Sad but true. They're not... they're not the hardiest of creatures sometimes.
No, they're not, are they? A friend of mine, actually, she actually runs a doggy daycare centre. She lives sort of semi-rural, and she's got a doggy daycare centre with lots of land. And she backs onto woods, which doesn't belong to her, but she's got exclusive access to it. She sort of rents part of it, I think. But she keeps chickens, and she sort of like has this video diary and sort of like general updates on Facebook and stuff, and it's lovely to keep up with her and her girls. But of course, as you say, they're not very hardy, and every now and again, and they're all rescue hens too, or nearly all. Of course, every now and again they get egg bound, and then off they pop. It's all very sad.
Yeah. Then you can't get too attached to them because you don't have them for long enough. They're not. It's not a cat or a dog that you have for years. They just occasionally they'll make it a long time, but generally not.
No, definitely. I suppose you could say something about hamsters, but you can get very, very fond of a hamster, can't you?
Well, yes, and again that lays the same path, doesn't it? And Weeble Chick has come in with the extraordinarily helpful. How's about a drone playing Mozart?
Yes.
There's a scene from Apocalypse Now. Can you imagine? And a water pistol. No, I'm getting silly now.
Well, that would upset the neighbours, wouldn't it?
Probably upset the neighbours more than the crows themselves, I feel.
They probably just think you've gone bonkers. Oh, God. I can just picture that in my mind's eye. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's something out of a Monty Python sketch.
It is rather, isn't it? Yeah. Or the oddies. Oh, God.
Goodies. The goodies.
Goodies, that's it. What did I say, oldies? Yeah, the goodies. Yeah, that's right. Oh, I think that's excellent. That is a brilliant thought. I like that a lot. Yeah. Well, it worked on squirrels. There's no reason why it wouldn't work on crows, I suppose.
I think magically you might have to have a bit of a sort of conversation with the lead crow, number one crow, the big boss.
Yeah. It's not always easy to work out who the lead crow is.
No. They're very democratic, aren't they, as a group?
Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of crows here. And as I say, I mean, by and large, they're all right. And they, by and large, leave me alone. But we do. Uh-oh. Excuse me a minute.
Somebody brought in an unexpected guest.
Might be an unexpected mouse in the airlock.
It's not literally an airlock for anyone who's wondering, but sort of gap between two doors. Maybe it's not a mouse.
Have you brought something in?
He's been asked if he's bought something in, so let's see what he is.
No, we seem to be all right.
Oh, jolly good.
We seem to be. There's just no telling with birds. You usually get the telltale if he's brought me something in. Actually, he's brought me some other nice things in recently. I've had some really interesting bits of bark, which is quite nice because he used to always bring very natural things in. It was always bits of bark and leaves and scrap of paper. Although they've got the odd balloon and Lego brick from time to time, but by and large, it was twigs and sticks and leaves and bits of bark. And then it kind of all stopped, and it all went to the whole, gruesome stuff. And I'm not so keen on those presents. In fact, he got shouted at last week because he brought one of those in. And since then, obviously, it did the trick because I proper shouted at him, which I don't normally do. But it was the final straw. Because he'd been irritating me all day. Because what I'd put in his dish wasn't acceptable.
So he just brought his own food in.
Yes, it's like, well, I'm going to go down to Starbucks then and get my own stuff. And Starbucks mouse order was obviously on the menu. Anyway, he brought them in and was chewing them in front of me very noisy. And it's like, that is the final straw. I'm not having that. So he got well and truly shouted at. So we've reverted back to bits of bark and a couple of sticks. And I like them. I make things with them. I've got a very large collection and I make things with them. So that's nice. So, yeah, but it's grim. I wish you wouldn't do it. What have we got here? Didn't realise our crows were actually rooks until I've been calling the main one Russell for years. Oh, I like that. That's brilliant.
Excellent joke.
That's excellent. Our cat Sandra brought me one.
Sandra.
Brought me in the that's a great name for a cat.
It's a really interesting name.
Yeah, our cat Sandra brought me in the exact leaf I needed to make a template for an applique quilt. You see, they do know. They do know. They know exactly what you need. And I've said this story before. I think I said it on here. But when I first started writing years ago, and I was writing a certain book, and lived next to a school at the time. Well, as the crow flies, back to crows, as the crow flies next to a school. And Bert used to regularly go into the, the really big wheelie bins that they have at schools. And I think he used to go into the recycling bin, and he used to come out with all sorts of bits of paper and so on. And it was the first day that I'd started, sort of typing out some stuff. And he brought me in a piece of paper that he'd obviously nicked from the school. And it was some kid's homework or another. Try explaining that to the teacher. Anyway, he brought in this one kid's piece of homework, and it said, writers use interesting words and writers use good grammar. And I thought, well, that's really helpful. Thank you very much. So, yeah, absolutely, they do. And I've said this on here as well, that I had a particularly stressful real life moot a few years ago with somebody that used to come that was a little challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it had been quite an evening. She'd been on top form, shall we say. So when I got home, I was quite glad to be back. And he brought me in a packet of Rizzlers and a coffee cup to leave, which I thought was very nice. So a packet of fags and a coffee. Thank you very much.
Let's make things happen.
Absolutely. And they do. They know exactly what you need. They know what they need when they bring in a mouse. And that's in his case, it's to show me I really don't like what crap you've given me. So much so, look what I've been reduced to eating.
Well, it was my find of the headless squirrel and underneath the drinks cart. I was like, nice. That was huge. I mean, he must have strained something getting that through the cat flap. Thoughtfully positioned it so that its rear little legs were just sticking out, and I'm like,
oh God. I trod in a dead squirrel that one of my cats had brought in once. It was horrible. And oh God, I got home. I was working at night, and I got home. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And usually, I would put my slippers in the porch, and then sort of change into my outdoor shoes. But for whatever reason, this time I left my slippers indoors. So I took my shoes off in the porch, and nobody had thought to put the outside light on for me at that occasion, which was very considerate of them. Thank you very much. So it's all dark, and I was feeling around, where's the key, and keyhole and all the rest of it. So took one step forward and felt squelch underneath my now bare foot, and so obviously retracted my foot quite quickly. Put on the light once I'd actually managed to get myself in. And I'd trodden in a dead squirrel. Oh, God, it was the most revolting thing ever.
Not the kind of slipper you were looking for.
No, horrible, absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was brought in by a really unpleasant cat that we used to have, whose proper name was Smokey, but because he was just such an unsavoury character, we called him Mr. Pooh. Yeah, oh, he was horrible, and it was loosely based on, at the time there was, remember that program South Park, which actually I didn't watch, but you sort of like caught bits and pieces of songs and stuff. And there was a song that was Hanky the Christmas Pooh. He loves us, he loves you too. Well, he was Smokey the Christmas Pooh. He hates us and he hates you too. And that was him. He just hated everybody. He was horrible. And, except my son, he absolutely loved my son, and my son used to be able to use him as a pillow. And I mean, you could barely touch this cat without him going for you. But him, my son used to just sort of like lie on him, pull him around all over the place. He was about 7 or 8 when he came to live with us, this cat. And yeah, my son used to just pull him around. He literally used to lie on him and use him as a pillow. It's like, how can you get away with that and nobody else can go anywhere near him? He used to lie in ambush for me. This is the cat, not my son. Although he did.
Good to clarify.
Although my son would ambush me occasionally too. But no, the cat used to ambush me just the other side of the kitchen door. So as you went into the kitchen, as your bare ankles in the morning with your dressing gown on, bare ankles, straight, every morning. He was a funny cat.
Yes.
Oh, I did laugh a lot. Yeah. He eventually left home because he decided that he didn't want to live at our house anymore, because the big house up the road, he got wind of the fact that there were a couple of cats there, and he literally smashed his way through the cat flat. I'm not joking. He broke their cat flat. A woman came to complain. Is this yours? Yes. But eventually he decided to move in. So he sort of basically terrorised her existing 2 cats and beat them into surrender, I think. But she was giving him plates of ham and shepherd's pie for lunch. Well, I wasn't going to compete with that. I mean, how can you compete with that with a tin of whiskers? I mean, that's
It's not going to cut it, is it really?
no. So yeah. Anyway, so she lured him away with shepherd's pie. So that. And actually, everybody breathed a sigh of relief that he'd moved on. And he used to come back occasionally just to remind everybody that he was still in charge and that he was just still as horrible as he always had been. Beautiful looking cat, but oh God, he was horrible. Yeah, but as I say, I'd be like, oh no, he's back. But the funny thing was that he obviously decided to move on to even grander things from that big house, because there was an even bigger house about a quarter of a mile up the road from that one, and he moved up there. Yeah, going up the social ladder. It's a social whirl, and so he moved from her house, the shepherd's pie woman. He moved from her house and went to move into the bigger house up the road. And she came banging on my door asking if I had stolen Tiger, which she renamed him. It's like, if you mean, Smokey, that I have chipped, then no. I expect someone's done to you what you did to me. And that turned out to be exactly the case. So she got her comeuppance in the end. Karma is a dish best served.
Indeed. But we had one of our cats years ago. We used to call this cat Fat Freddy because he was just a round barrel of black and white fluffsomeness. And my neighbour at the time, when I used to live up in Croydon, she'd got a cat, and this was this tabby cat, and it was a bit nervous and everything, and she'd gone away for a week. Well, we'd lost our cat, and I was putting notices up because I thought, he's in someone's shed, he tends to roam.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to be holed up somewhere, like sort of slightly thinner than he was when we left him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, about a week later, I bumped into another neighbour who was going in next door to feed this cat of this woman's. And I said, is it nervous? Oh, no, he's ever so friendly. I said, really? I didn't think Susie was friendly. He said, well, look, he's in the window now. And my Fat Freddy cat was sitting there in the window, literally with a middle claw stuck up in the air looking at me. And I'm like, Is this the cat you've been feeding? And he said, yes. I said, that's not her cat. Turns out my cat had gotten in there just before she went away on holiday, and basically had made himself at home, terrorised the other cat. It was hidden under the bed. And it took 4 of us to go in her house and capture my cat and drag it out of there, fatter than ever. Cheeky little bugger. Absolutely cheeky.
That's a great story. I like that.
Okay. And he didn't care. He literally had a sort of black and white face with what looked like an eyebrow, and he looked at you, and it was always the expression of rolling the eyes and who the are you?
Yeah.
Oh man, I was so embarrassed. It was like,
oh dear, how awful, embarrassing.
I don't think the woman ever knew. It's just saying, but she hasn't got it. She hasn't got a black and white cat. She's got a tabby. He's like, oh
dear. Yeah, not good. So Chris has said, best gift from one of our cats was a grass snake. That was entertaining, as I didn't want to part with it. They didn't want to part with it. Oh God. The worst gift beyond that is half a grass snake. I've had a few half grass snakes before.
Nasty, yeah. Oh, Lainey's in the house. Big girls really do cry. That's Lainey. Hello, lovely. Hope you're well.
Yeah, so it's bad enough when you get a whole one, isn't it? But when you get half of one, it's like when you bite into an apple. Finding a maggot's unpleasant. Finding half of it's worse.
It's a worry, especially if you're vegan.
Oh my God, what have I done?
Oh, that tasted a bit funny.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Oh dear. Cats, honestly. You see, the thing is, having a familiar, I think, is amazing. And we've talked about familiars a little bit before, haven't we? But sometimes they've got absolutely no intention of being helpful at all. And they just turn up. They turn up in your life just so that they can be a flipping nuisance. They really do. Yeah. Sort of got very, sort of, they're almost like this studious cat. And they go, oh yes, we'll do some of this and we'll do some of that, and I'll help you do that, and I'll go and get one of those for you. That's lovely. And then you've just got this arsehole that just decides he's going to be a pain in the backside. And just
or the one that ambushes you every time you go down to the shed, to the freezer, or to collect something. You suddenly have sort of 4 sets of claws kind of in your back going, Jesus.
Yes.
I think that's perfectly all right to just perch on your shoulders.
Yeah, I know. Maisie, my fat white one, she doesn't mind being picked up, but she prefers, instead of being on your front, to being on your back, which means that she claws away over your shoulder as you bend over, so that she can then be on your back. And then she'll sit down, she loafs, that whole thing of when they put their paws, and she loafs, and she'll sit there, and I'm like, are you planning on staying there for any length of time? And after a minute or two, your back starts giving out. And you think, well,
can't go around like that all the time.
Very uncomfortable. And she's most indignant when I kick her off. Oh, most indignant. Oh, Jane says she's got Asbo cats around here. Yeah, there's always Asbo cats. It's in their nature, I think, isn't it? Oh God, they are funny though. You've got to laugh. They're just, dogs are great. I used to have dogs when I was little. Never had dogs by choice of my own, because I don't think I would be a responsible owner and take it out for a walk every day. And I think you have to know your limitations and so on. Here's the fat white one talking about it. Hello, Mrs. Oh, she's going to bed. So yeah, I know that I wouldn't be a responsible owner and then take them out for walks and things every day. And I know there are people that have dogs and don't take them out for a walk every day, and that's up to them. But I don't think that, my viewpoint is that they should go out every day, and I don't like going out every day, so it wouldn't work. But they've got a different mindset altogether to cats, haven't they? They're just like,
yeah. The thing is, my cat, when I get out, because I have to park in the middle of a kind of a cul-de-sac bit, because I haven't got anywhere to park outside my house, so I park up. Cat comes running out of the hedge towards me, jumps on my back while I'm getting things out the car, and then positions himself around my neck, and you can see people looking, going, what the heck? What's happened there? And I've got this scarf, this big furry scarf, purring away like a crazy thing. Oh, Lainey's got a dog. Yeah, Lainey's got the most beautiful dog. Like one of these sort of lurcher type.
Oh, lovely.
It's beautiful. Jasper, is that right? It's called Jasper. It's very lovely. I've seen pictures.
My daughter in Australia, she's recently got a puppy, and it's half Great Dane and half, I think it's American Bull Mastiff. It's going to be the most enormous dog ever. She's only 5 months old, and she's already, when she stands up, she's the same height as my daughter. When she stands up, that's 5'2" or 5'3". So she's already that size, and she's only 5 months old. So God knows what size she's going to be. God knows. So I said, well, it'll save you a fortune on petrol. You'll be able to ride her to work. So
yeah, saddle her up.
Off you go. She might need a ladder to get on her though. But she's huge, and of course, where she's still only a baby, she's all legs and tail. She's got the biggest, longest tail I've ever seen on a dog, actually. But she's all legs and tail, and when she stretches herself out, they've got a 3-seater sofa, and she's beyond the length of the 3-seater sofa, and she's only 5 months old. So God knows how big she's going to be. She's a whopper, but daft as anything. Oh dear. Well, we've been chatting for an hour, so I'm going to call it. I know, time just flies, doesn't it? So I'm going to call it quits now, talking about animals and dogs and goodness only knows what else. We will have a think about those crows and see if we can't come up with some kind of magical solution for that. And there will be a magical solution out there for that. We just need to think what it is. So yeah, we'll come up with that, and then as soon as we've come up with that, I'll stick it in the comments for you. We've got knock things over. Definitely. Oh yeah, that's what cat. Yeah. So isn't this just such a cat thing? Yes.
Yeah. Just
exactly what they like
wandering
to do.
along and then.
Yeah. And it's the malice in their face. It's like, what is this? Does she really like that? Yes, she does. Bonk. So yeah, so having a dog do that is quite unusual. It's definitely a cat thing, isn't it? So
Wow.
yes, we'll have a chat about the crow situation, and we'll see what we can come up with. And yeah, well, thank you very much for watching, and we will hopefully see you all next week. And have a wonderful week. Enjoy the moon. Of course, it's the waxing moon. That means plenty of positivity coming into your life, so you can work with that if that's what you'd like to do. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week, lovelies.
Here we go. Cheerio.